Hey folks, how you doing? Dave McRae here. I wanted to sort of just give my final consensus on the images that were released in regards to the new Halloween movie coming out this October the 19th, 2018 over the last 24 hours or so. Now, I did upload a live stream last night around this time, and I was talking with my buddy Bruce, who is beside me, who also works in the film industry here in Toronto, and we sort of gave our thoughts on the images that were released, excluding the one that was released today, and we also talk shop and everything Halloween. So you can check that out. That is on my channel. That being said, I've had 24 hours to let this sink in, and I've had probably a good 6 or 7 hours for the image that was released today to sink in. So I sort of want to give my final thoughts on what I'm looking at here, okay? And they haven't really changed much from the live stream, and that is I like what I see. I really do like what I see, but I have to see it in motion. I have to see James Jude Courtney moving through the space. I have to see how the shadows fall onto the mask. I have to see what the cinematographer and David Gordon Green, what they decided when they worked together on how to light the space. How does it look when Myers is walking through that space? The mask looks good. I like it. I really do. And I think it's the best looking Michael Myers mask we've had since what we saw in Halloween 2, 1981. Now, the mask from Part 1, 1978, and Part 2, 1981, for those of you who don't know, is the same mask. It looks a bit different because it was under a bed, Deborah Hill's bed, in I think a shoebox or something like that for a couple of years. But it also looks different because Dick Warlock's face is more round and Nick Castle's face is a bit longer. So it obviously, as it settles and sits on somebody's face, it's going to look a bit different. But that being said, I think this looks all right. I like what I see, but I need to see it moving through the space. I need to see what is the lighting they've chosen, right? How is it going to look when James Jude Courtney brings the mask to life? So I like what I see. Let's see what it looks like in motion. And that's sort of what I kind of feel about it. Now, in terms of the questions people have been asking me about who do I think is who, and is that James Jude Courtney? Is that James Jude? Well, no, is that Nick Castle? No. I don't know for sure, but this is what I believe looking at the images. This image right here, which I have no doubt everybody will agree with for obvious reasons, is I'm 99.9% sure. I always leave a little bit of wiggle room because you never know. But this is James Jude Courtney. The physique and the stature of this human being standing in this doorway is not one of Nick Castle. Now, I've met Nick Castle, and I can certainly say he's not a completely out of shape guy, but he's a 70-year-old man, and this does not look like the height of Nick Castle. Nick Castle's 5'10", give or take. James Jude Courtney, 6'3", maybe even 6'4" in boots. So this is definitely James Jude Courtney, in my opinion, and I think we would all agree on that. This image right here, which is a great image, by the way, it's sort of actually, it's funny, when I first saw it, it reminded me of my fan film, The Night He Came Back, when I played Michael Myers and I busted through the door at the end of the film to get our lead protagonist. So it was kind of funny, But anyway, yeah, so this is a great image. This is a great promotional image. This is probably the best promotional image out of all of the images that they have released. And to be honest with you, you could have released this image a number of weeks ago, and this would have been great because you're showing a lot, but you're hardly showing anything. And if you look very carefully, for those of you who haven't noticed, a lot of you probably have, but for those of you who haven't, you can actually see the Shape's mask through the broken window there, right in the darkness. That's a great first image to release. If it was, if it was me and I was in the marketing department at Blumhouse and Universal, I definitely would have said, you know what, let's release this on its own. It's strong enough that you could very well have released this on its own, and you're not showing the Shape with any sort of real clarity, right? But you can kind of see him, but that's a great first image. Great first image. Now, it was released with the others, which is fine, but I think you could have released that on its own a couple of weeks ago, just to sort of, calm some people down maybe, and that would have been great. That would have caught on like wildfire, and people would have been like, "Oh yeah, dude, that's just awesome," right? Because it's classic Halloween. Classic Halloween. You could have released that. It's a strong enough image. You could have released it on its own. Now, do I think that this is Nick Castle or James Jude Courtney? I think it's James Jude Courtney. I was speaking with Tony Michael today, and he seems to think that it might be Nick Castle. It could be, but I think it's James Jude Courtney. I think James Jude Courtney is a larger man than Nick Castle, and I think this is the arm and the hand to me just feels like it's James Jude Courtney. And we know that there's more physicality in this role, and I think this is probably a moment that James Jude Courtney would do. It's no doubt breakaway glass. It's not going to be real glass, but nonetheless, James Jude Courtney being a stuntman and having that kind of experience, I think would have been in the role if he's going to put his fist through breakaway glass, which is just essentially glass that breaks away on impact like that. Okay, it's designed to do that. That's the whole point. I still think it would have been him. So I think this is James Jude Courtney. Now, this image right here, which I think is the weakest image out of all the ones that have been released. Now, again, I didn't say it was a weak image. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying out of all of the images that have been released, I think this is the weakest of them all. I didn't say it was a weak image. I just said in comparison, okay? I'm going to go out on a limb and say this is Nick Castle. The way the shoulders come down and the way sort of, if you look to the bottom right where the light or the sun, depending on what it is, how it's being lit here, is sort of cast onto the jumpsuit, there's something about the front of the jumpsuit that makes me feel that this is the stature of Nick Castle. And it could be, now I'm not saying that Nick Castle is fat, not at all, but he does have a little bit of a belly, and he's obviously not, he obviously does not have the same physique that James Jude Courtney has. And there's something about the stature of this image, the way that the shoulders are falling, the way that the head is leaning forward, I'm getting a sense that this could be Nick Castle. Now, I'm not saying that Nick is an old man and this is the stature of a 70-year-old man. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying in comparison of the two individuals and their statures, this feels like this could be Nick Castle standing there. Okay, now, that doesn't mean it is, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say that this is Nick Castle in this mask. That's what I'm going to say. Now, with this image right here, which was released earlier this afternoon, I think it could go both ways. And I'm going to give reasons on why I believe this could very well be James Jude Courtney, absolutely 100%, or it could be Nick Castle. It's entirely possible it could be Nick Castle. Now, the other image of the shape standing in the doorway of the closet, no, I'm almost certainly convinced that this is, or that is James Jude Courtney. And again, I think we would probably all agree on that. Now, one of the reasons why this is more than likely James Jude Courtney is because James Jude Courtney is the Michael Myers, the shape in this new movie. He is your main Michael Myers. He plays Michael Myers the most. So when they move over to the marketing department and begin to dish out these promotional images and shot of this new shape in this new Halloween movie, by and large, unless it's something really nostalgic, right? Like I said, it wouldn't surprise me if later down the road we see sort of, a promotional image of the shape looking over a stair banister, very reminiscent of that classic image of the shape from 1978. That would probably be Nick Castle, because you're shooting that from, the chest up, so to speak, and the physicality in terms of the physique is not all that important, especially at Nick's age of 70. This is why I think that it's probably James Jude Courtney, because they want their new Michael Myers front and center in the vast majority of the promotional marketing material that especially shows the vast majority of his body. However, this could very well be Nick Castle as well, and here's why. When I look at this image and I compare it to the image of the shape in the doorway to the closet, the stature does look a little different to me. The way the body language is looks a little different to me. Now, mind you, this is, I mean, you know, they're two completely different poses, okay? So we have to keep that in mind. This still could very well be the same person. But these are my thoughts. When I look at this and I pay close attention to the way the sleeves on the jumpsuit fall, when you look at the sleeves on this image over here of what I think we can all agree is more than likely James Jude Courtney in the doorway of the closet. When you look at the right arm, okay, his right arm holding the knife, okay, not your right, but his right, okay. The sleeve, okay, the cuff of the sleeve falls just above the wrist. Now, there's many reasons why this could be. It could be the way he's standing. It could be the angle for which his feet are positioned. That's entirely possible. But it's not out of the realm of possibility to assume that the left arm, his left arm, our right, that we cannot see, the sleeve falls in a similar fashion. That is very likely here, okay? Pay close attention to the shoulders. Look how broad they are. Pay close attention to the collar. Now, when we go over to this image here, the shoulders don't look quite as broad. It's a different angle, mind you, 100%. But look at the way the sleeves fall on the jumpsuit in accordance to where the wrist is. Now, when we look at the left wrist, our right, the shape's left, the sleeve does fall right to the wrist, okay? The cufflink area, the cuff falls right to the wrist, okay? When we look at the shape's right hand, our left, the shape's right, it does fall below the wrist, but that's only because of the position for which he's holding his arm. But if that arm was parallel with his other arm right by his side, I think it's pretty much safe to say, because of how bunchy the jumpsuit is there, that cuff would probably fall to where it is on his left wrist. So this tells me, at least it gives some, circumstantial evidence at best, that this could very well be a different person in a different jumpsuit. Now, this is all circumstantial, okay? I'm sure there's probably some, people out there, they're gonna be like, holy crap, nerd McRae, nerd! You think I'm a nerd McRae? Well, I totally get it, all right? And I'm acknowledging that this is circumstantial, okay? I mean, this is like the, basically what I did there was basically the equivalent of taking like a measuring tape and going up onto a map on on your computer and be like, yeah, it's only about 6 inches from here to Toledo. I mean, let's get serious, right? But I think there's enough circumstantial evidence with what I presented here that, yeah, I think this could very well be a different actor in a different jumpsuit, because obviously Nick Castle and James Jude Courtney would not be wearing the same jumpsuit, okay? So I think there's a high probability that, yeah, that could be Nick Castle. It wouldn't surprise me if it came out later on that was Nick. I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense, because it's those tiny details that you can pick up on when you know what to look for that may allude to, may be a tip-off, may not seem like a big thing in the big picture, right? But there's just those little things that you might go, oh, that's interesting, and you, oh, you know what, oh, okay, yeah, so it was Nick, and maybe that's, and if you know what to look for, you're like, oh, hey, okay, it's just a little bit of a tip-off. But certainly, this was not scientific. Okay, so let's, get that out of the way. Anyways, folks, my name's Dave McRae. Comment below and let me know what your thoughts are. Do you think all these images are James Jude Courtney? Do you think all these images are Nick Castle? But do you think that they're a combination of both? And if you do, which ones do you think are Nick Castle and which ones do you think are James Jude Courtney? Comment below and let me know. I'd love to know your thoughts. Hey, if you want to follow me on Facebook, you can at facebook.com/manythingsdavemcrae. McRae is MCRAE. Facebook.com/manythingsdavemcrae. That's where you can follow me in the meantime and in between time. When I'm not posting here, that's where I tend to post. The link is in the description. And if you want to help support the channel each and every month, you can via my Patreon page, which is now up online and rockin'. The link is in the description. Check that out as well. So, yeah, until next time, I will talk to you guys soon. Cheers.